Hi everybody, welcome to Talking Town. I'm Matt. Joining me is my usual co-host, Rich. How you doing, Rich?
I'm all right. It's got a mouthful.
It's got a mouthful of something.
I've just got an email.
Hi Matt, how you doing?
How you doing? Right, Colin?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you, Matt. Yeah, brilliant.
Go on, Rich. You got an email?
I've just got an email from the Terrace. So obviously this is a Paul Mariner tribute show.
Yeah.
The Paul Mariner kit mug they're releasing, which is this one I've got here, the Pioneer one, but it's going to have Mariner 9 on it.
Fantastic.
So go over to the Terrace. Each mug, the profits will donate it to cancer research. It's now available.
Brilliant. Oh,
That's fantastic.
Fantastic, isn't it, Colin? Well, I mean, look, everyone listening, thanks for tuning in. Everyone excited, of course, Colin, about this evening, England versus Italy in the final of the Euros. And then, of course, we all woke up, unfortunately, to the sad news yesterday morning that Paul had sadly passed away. And, you know, when we think about that great Robson team, Colin, of 81, all those great names. And, you know, Paul Mariner is just a legend in capital letters, isn't he?
I mean, when Rich texted me yesterday, I woke up and read the text, and I got to say, I was speaking to Rich this morning. I turned around to Venetia and told her the bad news, and I'm not scared to admit it. I literally cried. I'll use the words I used to Rich this morning. It was kind of like losing a family member for me. You know, I like Graham. I travelled thousands of miles. I spent thousands of pounds, literally, watching that great side and obviously the sides before that, but the great sides with Paul in it. And he was just part and parcel of that side. And he was such a, like I said this morning, he was such a, not only was he a great footballer, he was a great person, a great character, a person in the tunnel, apparently, who would wind the opposition up, the European lads. He'd wind them up, you know, like Terry Butcher would say, he'd wind them up in the tunnel, you know, and half those sides were beaten before they even went out on the Portman Road pitch, you know. He didn't do it in a nasty way. He was a character, you know, and just a fantastic footballer. Unbelievable. He had, like Terry, I'm not saying it because Terry said it on Sky yesterday, but he had everything. He literally had everything. He had a great left foot. He had a brilliant right foot. Fantastic in the air. Strong. And like I said before on this show, the best, I said it ages ago, long before the person, Paul, died, the best player I've ever seen wear an Ipswich shirt with back to goal. Without no shadow of a doubt, strong as an ox. I'm sure Graham would say that.
Yeah, Graham, it's great to see you. Have you sorted your tech issues out? Are we back up and running?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Brand new laptop today, and it didn't work. So back.
Just to let you know, we were just sort of saying what, you know, unexpectedly waking up yesterday morning to the news that Paul had passed away. What was your initial thoughts?
I guess it was one of sadness, but not a great surprise. I mean, obviously, I sort of speak to Terry Butcher now and again, and you know, I was sort of under the impression that he wasn't a well man. I mean, I follow him on Twitter, and I think you could sort of get that impression over the last few months, where he was a little bit more frequent on Twitter. The last few months, he's been very quiet on that, and I feared it was like a bit of a countdown coming, and there wasn't a lot that could do about it. But nonetheless, you know, very, very sad. You know, it's like, as Colin said, a bit like sort of a member of the family, really. You know, so yeah, very, very. And you know, at the end of the day, 68's no age, is it really? Sort of 11 years older than me. You know, it sort of is no age at all, really. So very sad. But I mean, I've got three real terrific memories of Paul. I mean, the first one was, I don't know if you guys remember, but the home debut that he made, I think it was his debut altogether, West Brom 7-0. He got an absolute peach of a curler in, sort of curling into the net. But then you sort of look at it and you think, well, actually, that was a bloody good goal. But Beattie's goal, I mean, I remember John Osborne, the West Brom goalkeeper, actually was quoted afterwards and said he was bloody glad he got his hands out of the way, because they'd have probably got in the net with the ball Beattie's pile driver. But then even that was eclipsed by a forward that we had that I personally feel never got the credit for what he was all about up front for Ipswich. And Trevor White, he got 4 goals that day, you know. So Paul's goal was brilliant, but totally shadowed by the others. But
can I just say, Graham, you're absolutely spot on about that game. I stood up in the North Stand that day, and oh my God, I mean, John Osborne, I remember him saying in the paper, I think it was on the Monday, that any more of that, and I'd had to go and have a back operation. You know, I mean, he was picking it out so much. But going on from what you said, and Rich sent me a little clip yesterday, and it sent such many happy memories to me. That goal we scored against Villa in the 3rd round of the FA Cup, that was unbelievable. Not so much just from Paul, but the actual goal. I mean, the build-up and everything that goal, I can see it going in now. And Paul used to always put his hands up in the air like that in front of the North Stand.
Yeah.
And he's motionless. He'd stand like that. And we'd be singing the song, you know, 1,000,000 miles for one of your goals, Paul Mariner.
But to be honest, I mean, that was a great team goal, one against Villa. But that was what we were used to every week, you know, or similar goals, you know, like the passing, you know, teams just didn't get close to our players, you know. I mean, the closest they ever got was probably when Tyson had the ball, and the ball, like sometimes they reckon the ball was glued to his feet, because, you know, you could have 2 or 3 of them pound down on it, and you're just waiting for him to get kicked up in the air and the ball. But it didn't. It just comes straight out the other side, and they're all like, "Where the hell's he gone?" You know. And then, you know, Mariner was so lucky to have the teammates that he did that could create. You know, I mean, Paul could create stuff out of nothing, but his teammates were absolutely unbelievable. But no, I mean, the second thing that I remember, particularly about Paul Mariner, was the 80-81. What I still call, and funnily enough, it was going around on those were the days. The video, someone had got hold of the French version of the video, Saint Etienne away, and I mean, we went 1 down really quickly to a team that hadn't lost at home at all in Europe since playing in the early 60s, and we went 1-0 down after about 14-15 minutes. And then Paul got one of the goals, but it wasn't just the goal that he got. He was just causing absolute mayhem. They just did, you know, the whole forward line, sort of Brazil, Gates, Mariner.
Again, Graham, I went to that game to St Etienne away, and I still say to this day, I don't mind repeating myself, I still say to this day that was the most complete team performance I ever saw, and especially from the town side. I mean, we would, on that night, you was there, Graham, on that night, we would have beaten anybody in Europe, bar none. Honestly, we was that good. I mean, you got Johnny Rep in the side, you had Michel Platini, arguably, I've got to say, because I think Arnold and Francois up there, arguably, if not the best midfield player in Europe at the time. And, you know, we tore them to pieces. We beat them 7-2 on aggregate. I mean, that's ridiculous. 4-1 away and 3-1 at home. But again, like you quite rightly say, Graham, Mariner, that night, I mean, it was a boggy, horrible pitch, you know, and he was just so strong, like I said. But another memory I have of Paul is you know, like I've been saying about his England career, you know, I mean, 35 caps, you know, 13 goals, 1 in nearly every 3. I mean, he had a great goal ratio. He had, for town, over 300 appearances, 135 goals. Unbelievable ratio at the top level. And for all these young people, I'm not going to say children, young people who are watching this, He did it all in Division 1, which is the Premier League. You know, and I'm going to say this, Graham, because I think you will agree with me. If Paul Mariner was in this transfer window, right now, I would put Kane. They're talking 150 million, easily the same, and that is no exaggeration. He is as good. I read an article yesterday. I can't remember who it was by, to be honest with you. I read an article yesterday that Mariner was the 70s, 80s Alan Shearer. And my God, that's some high praise. But yes, he'd be 125 to 150 million now. I mean, he was that good, wasn't he, Graham?
Yeah, absolutely superb. But I think my biggest claim to fame, which is in my book, which you've probably read already, but I'll repeat it anyway. But the biggest claim to fame that I had was when I was like one of only 3 supporters, drove my T-Reg, whatever it was, about 1979 Vauxhall Cavalier, the long flat ones that looked like someone had dropped like a steamroller had gone over the top of it.
I remember that.
Yeah, beige colour with the brown vinyl roof. It was really cool at the time, but I cringe now. But we drove it all over Scandinavia to follow the team pre-season, and we wrapped up going all the way along the south coast of Norway to as far as you could go to a place called Stavanger, and they played Viking Stavanger in a pre-season friendly. We just sort of rocked up, and because we were the only 3 supporters from Ipswich, we were sort of waiting for the team to come up, and we were sort of hanging around, and the car was just parked basically outside the ground, you know, and Mariner got off the bus, and he was "Oh, do you want a kickabout?" And he sort of pointed to the ball in the back window, like on the back shelf of the car. So, and it was one of those plastic, the Woolworths ones with the like octagonal sort of shape that however well you kicked it, it'd just go off in all sorts of direction. But I mean, it could still kick that one. And we were in the street, and he had the ball, and there wasn't a bloody way that we were going to get the ball off him, even just having a little. And we were like almost shitting ourselves that we didn't like. You know what I mean. But we were like worried. Oh my God, do we tackle him and bring him down and break his leg or something? And try to explain that. So that was an amazing experience. There's a picture of that in the book. And then also, afterwards. Sorry, I was just going to say then. Just as he was about to go off with the rest of the team, you know, back to go in for the game, and then he invited us to go back to the players' hotel afterwards as a thank you, because we'd gone all that way and sort of thousands of miles. So we like followed the coach back afterwards, and we had a fantastic meal there. And halfway through it, the waiting staff and the kitchen staff all came out with the autograph books, and I was sat next to Paul, and I'm like, he said, no, just sign it. He said, just think of the fun they're going to have over the years trying to work out who Graeme Brook is, you know. So I signed the autographs away, and then just finally, he was describing a player that used to play for Ipswich. I don't know if anyone recalls someone called Colin, who was a solid midfielder. And Paul's description of him was that he couldn't even trap a bag of cement. So that was just
well, I'll tell you what, Graham, just you know, it's memories, yeah, and you know, I'll take them to my grave. I mean, we can't forget about the Man United game, you know, 6-0, missed 3 penalties. Okay, one was twice taken, but we actually missed 3 penalties. In theory, 2, I take it. But I mean, for the younger generation, again, that's how great that side was. You're talking about a side that with Gary Bailey, England's goalkeeper, in goal, Martin Buchan, Lou Macari, Brian Greenoff. You know, you're talking about that ilk of player, you know, for Man United. That weren't a CRAP Man United side by any means, by any talk, about the strength of the imagination. But Mariner that day, I mean, as Graham knows, I mean, everybody knows now, but I mean, obviously was there watching it, fortunately for us. But I mean, he scored a hat-trick that day. Like I say, we got 6 goals. I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, for Man United, that could have been and should have been their worst ever defeat in their history. In their history. Now, we're talking about one of the greatest sides this country or Europe has just about ever seen, and one of the richest clubs in Europe or this country's ever seen. And we tore them to pieces. Mariner tore them to pieces. That's how good that side was. And, you know, and also, like I said before, you know, I can't say it enough. He was just such a lovely bloke. And always remember him, like I said to Rich yesterday, always remember him, you know, obviously when we had the celebrations and everything. And all right, he'd had 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, like all of them, man. You know, because that was what we did in them days. But Paul was, you know, he'd pretend to throw the UEFA Cup over the balcony, and he'd have. But another great memory for me, I said this to Rich yesterday, I know it's a bit boring for Rich because he's heard it before, but Bobby used to always bring a team down to Bury Town. I've lived in Bury or surrounding areas all my life. And they used to always bring a team to Bury Town. Sometimes, you know, in the early 70s, it'd be 75% first team and about 25% reserves, as they used to call it years ago, combination side. But I remember when we won the FA Cup, he told Bury Town, the chairman at the time, I don't think it was Russell, whoever was chairman at the time, he said, don't worry, I remember in the Beverley Press, we'll bring a first team, we'll bring the cup winning side, we'll bring a couple of others, you know, maybe, I can't remember, maybe Terry or Russell, who were on the fringes then. So, true to his word, they brought the cup winning side down. And all the team were getting on, and Bobby got off. Bobby was walking across round by the car park with the FA Cup in his hand. They put it behind on the bar, you know, the FA Cup standing there behind Barry's bar. And like I say, Paul then got off, you know, with all the rest of them. And I'll tell you what, it just shows what kind of people they were. I remember Paul and Kevin, yeah, Beattie and everybody else, and especially Bobby. They were in round the car park. I mean, Bobby nearly missed the kickoff. Robson nearly missed the kickoff. They were signing. But Paul was that's why I'm trying to underline about Paul. That's Paul's day. He'd say, come on, Paul, you know, about time we got changed, you know. He'd be out there signing autographs and his old Chorley accent, you know, his Lancashire accent, he'd be telling jokes and all this, that and the other. But that was what he was. He was just such, like Terry said yesterday, such a lovely person. He really was a lovely person.
Rich, we were chatting about it yesterday morning. What were your thoughts? We've heard Graeme and Colin. They were there and lived it.
Nowhere near what Graeme and Colin have sort of seen. It's unfortunate because I started going in March '84, so he'd gone to Arsenal in February, and I was reading. He scored his last goal, Colin, against Coventry in the game where Jason Dezelle come on and scored.
Yeah. Really?
I think I did see him play. And I said to you yesterday morning, Colin, don't think I see him play for Arsenal. I think I see him play for Portsmouth when they got promoted from the old Division 2. It was 86, 87. I think he played up front with Mickey Quinn. And he look, yesterday, you just got to see, Matt, the outpouring of love from everyone across the football pyramid, everyone, you know, the tweets, the messages, and it shows what high regard that he was held in. Look, not just at Town, Plymouth Argyle, legend there, you know, 155 games, 61 goals. Then he went back to manage them. I always remember, I don't know if you remember the time when he come to Portman Road, that time when he was manager, and he gave his training top away, didn't he? He had his glasses. And I remember that. I think it was on Radio Suffolk when we were driving home and they were trying to find his glasses. But look, great man. And I said yesterday, the word legend, you know, nowadays, it's bandied around way too easy, isn't it, really? Because you see it with a lot of footballers. Paul Mariner, look, true legend. I said to Colin yesterday, Colin didn't agree with me. I think personally, don't think they will. I would retire the number 9 shirt at Town. I think that'd be a perfect tribute. But Colin said, look, Ray Crawford, obviously, still alive. So, but that's what I'll do. And I just hope they celebrate because we're going to play. We'll play the season, won't we? Go on, Colin.
Can I just say something? Funnily enough, I was going through Wikipedia yesterday, and that's Ray Crawford's 85th birthday tomorrow.
He's still in good nick as well, isn't he? I've seen him.
Yeah, he's a great lad. He's a popular lad. Yes, his 85th birthday tomorrow. So happy birthday, Ray Crawford, legend of the club.
What are your memories, Matt? What are your memories of him?
I saw him. So my first season going, Colin and Graeme, my first season when I went with my dad as a season ticket holder was 82, 83. So I remember seeing him in that season where, of course, Mick Mills left, didn't he? So he became the captain, and he was like, I think he headed up the Junior Blues as well. he was that. And then, of course, as you rightly say, the following season he scores in the game where Dazelle became the youngest ever scorer and departed for Arsenal. But I always feel like you get these weird moments, don't you, like that, where the door closes on an era at Ipswich was Paul Mariners and goes off to Arsenal, and a new one opens for Dazelle on the very same day. It's a weird one. But yeah, I met him once. So when we at the FA, when Sir Bobby passed away, we held his memorial service at Durham Cathedral, and we were kind of instrumental, our department, in sort of scanning people from around the world that had some connection to Bobby to come to it. And so Paul flew in from Boston because he was at New England Revolution at the time. And I remember chatting to him there, and he had the glasses and still had a bit of that hair that we all remember. And he kept asking me how he could get England tickets and how much they would cost to come over. And I said to him, this was not a lot of old players knew this, but if you'd represented England, be it one appearance or 100 appearances, you'd always have 2 free tickets to go and see the game at Wembley. So this was like news to him. So I remember him taking my details down and saying, "Oh, when I come over, I'll give you a call." I can't recall if he ever did. I know the Beat did. Called me a couple of times to get some tickets. I can't remember if Paul did, but that was the only time I ever got to speak to him. But as we were saying earlier in the show, you look at this Robson side of 81, this sort of crown of jewels. He was just one of the jewels in that team. It just go, with us being in League One right now, it just shows you how far we've kind of fallen, doesn't it, Colin? Because I mean that team, he was just a cog in that team, wasn't he?
Well, I'll tell you another thing I was thinking about only yesterday. Things keep going through your head, and I'm thinking to myself, that 1978 FA Cup winning side, I mean, that's not, okay, it's a few years ago now, but it's not a million years ago. And I mean, we've now lost 2 of that cup winning side. I can't believe that. We lost the great Kevin Beattie, and we now lost the great Paul Mariner. I mean, and that's out of the FA Cup winning side. It's quite extraordinary, really, that we've lost. Can
I show you this, Colin? Can I show you that?
No, I didn't see that, mate.
Paul Mariner.
Oh, yeah, it's good. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, lovely. I like that, Rich. Yeah, brilliant. So it's sad, when you think we've lost 2 of the FA Cup winning sides. It's unbelievable, really.
He was unlucky not to score in that game, wasn't he, Graeme? Hits the bar. Is it the first half he hits the bar?
I think it was, wasn't it? So we hit the woodwork. Was it 3 times? Was it Mariner and Moore?
Yeah.
And we went into that game being severe underdogs, weren't we? And we never really. I mean, you couldn't be confident, but we never really looked in a lot of trouble the whole match, did we? Really? So
that's the biggest. That's the biggest one. That's the biggest 1-0 thrashing Arsenal have ever had.
But you go back to the 80-81 team, and I sort of always, if ever anyone asks me who my favourite player was, I just can't divide between Mariner, Walk, Butcher, and Osman. There was just so many, and then not overlooking in the more current era, where you can see on my wall. Matt Holland, who I got that shirt off him when I did my 1000th match in 2002, and he's one of the obviously more recent ones, but we've just been so blessed with so many fantastic players, and just mentioning those 5, all the ones that you don't think about, like the 2 Dutch guys, Muir and Tyson, Gates, Marcus Stewart in our playoff promotion winning season, Roussa's another one. There's so many really, really good players that we've been blessed to watch, really. So
I was doing a bit of research.
I'm sure it's all.
I was doing a bit of research this morning, and Paul's, like you were saying earlier, from Chorley, Lancashire. He was discovered by someone called Verdi Godwin, talent scout. And he went down to the Plymouth manager, I think it was Tony Walters was his name, and said, I found a really good striker. And Plymouth couldn't work out whether or not they wanted to sign him or not. So they held a board vote. Vote yes or no, whether you want to sign this guy, Paul Mariner. And obviously the yes vote won. And that's where they signed him. But if you think back, Bobby never really signed many players, did he, for money during his tenure of 69 through to, 82? So what was the feeling when suddenly you read in the paper, Colin and Graeme, that, we've shelled out over 200 grand for a striker not many people have heard of, and John Peddleton and Terry Austin are going to go in the opposite direction? What was kind of the mood amongst the fans at that time?
Well, the thing is, at that time, I remember it so well. I've got to say this to Rich yesterday. When that deal was kind of going on, because Town were really interested in Ian Rush when he was at Chester. And he played down at Portman Road. Graeme might remember. Chester drew us in the FA Cup, unfortunately for them, right? And Ian Rush played in that FA Cup tie. And I remember he had a really good game. I think he scored actually at Portman Road for Chester that day. And there was real big rumours going about just after that we was really in for him, Ian Rush, unknown person at Chester. But the Paul Mariner thing come up at about the same time. And of course, then Liverpool were putting bids in for Ian Rush. And obviously with him being living where he was, Chester and that obviously being not far from Merseyside.
Colin Rushy, did he go for about 300,000 to Liverpool?
I can't really honestly remember. It was probably about the same. I think that deal as it Town done for Mariner. About that, Rich. Yeah, it might have been a bit more. But with the Mariner deal, obviously John Pedality and Terry Austin went the other way, and plus I think it was about 200 grand or something. And they come up. But you say about Tony Waiters, Matt. I remember him as a goalkeeper. I think he was a goalkeeper. I think he played at Burnley. Good player he was. But going back to the deal, like I say, I think I wrote a letter to the East Anglian yesterday about Paul, and it's one of the things I put in the letter. I think pound for pound, apart from the Arnold and France deals, obviously, I think pound for pound, that was one of the greatest deals Bobby ever did. I mean, he was, for that kind of money.
Within 6 months, Paul Mariner's playing for England. Within 6 months of for Town, he's making his debut against Luxembourg. Amazing. Yeah.
But I mean, he'd cut the mustard, in the lower levels. I mean, he was scoring goals for fun at Plymouth. And he came up here, and obviously his debut was at Old Trafford. We beat them as usual up there, and we did. We had a hell of a record at Old Trafford. Serious record. And that was before the 9-0, by the way, before some idiot from Man United decides to put it up. But yeah, we had a hell of a record. We used to win most seasons at Man United. And then, like Graeme said, we had that fantastic, unbelievable debut against West Brom. 7-0 on his debut.
Where were you both sitting that night against West Brom? Or were you in the North Stand?
If you look through,
I was standing in the North Stand, Rich.
What about you, Graeme?
Oh, Graeme, we've lost Graeme's audio. Graeme, maybe you can come back in again.
Yeah,
you can come back in. Yeah, I mean, Colin was like, we're like the East Anglian before when you heard that we were in for Paul. Were they like, was there excitement amongst the fans, or was it like, who's this guy? Because Plymouth had some good runs in the League Cup, hadn't they, leading up to that?
Yeah, no, there was a quite a bit of excitement about it, because obviously he was starting to be fairly well known across the scene, because he was repping it up, down at Owen Park, and he'd had a pretty good non-league before he went to Plymouth, and and he was ripping it up, like I say, for Plymouth in Division 3, I think they were in at the time. But, you know, it's like anything else, you know. If you're prolific, if you're a prolific goal scorer, you know, you're a prolific goal scorer. And he was just one of those blokes, you know. Like I said earlier, you know, if you put it on his head, he'd put it in. I always remember, I just thought of another one. Up a Churchman's End it was against Liverpool. He scored a remarkable header against Liverpool. I think Clements was in goal, I believe. And honestly, the header, I mean, I remember, I think it was on Match of the Day. And the header went in the Churchman's End like a shot. Honestly.
There's a 1-0 win there, Colin. When did that go?
Mate, yes, Rich, bang on. No, nailed it. Yeah. Trevor White, funnily enough, Trevor Wymart, Liverpool used to hate playing us. Trevor Wymart scored a worldy header up that end again against Liverpool, believe it or not. And I think that was a 1-0 win as well.
I sent you that thing yesterday, didn't I, both of you? There was a load of facts about Paul Mariner. So gardening and heavy rock music are two of Paul's diverse off-the-field interests. He was a former president of the Village Gardening Society, it says. And he was also he was a big rock music fan, wasn't he? I think Terry Butcher, when we had him on for the UEFA Cup with Russell Osman, he said, he's big into Deep Purple as well, wasn't he?
Deep Purple. You used to get on stage with them.
Yeah, he was on stage with Ian Killian, he was.
Oh, also, I've just thought of something else. And this is a very true story. In fact, I texted him yesterday afternoon. Two of my students who come on my bus, right? They live in Paul Mariner's old house.
Where was that?
Preston St Mary.
Oh, right.
And that is on my mother's life. Yeah. So I texted him yesterday. He's not really into football, but I texted him because I sent him a few pictures because, you know, and things to do with Paul. Once I found out that they actually lived in his old house,
Range.
I gave him a few things, you know, relating to Paul. And I had told them about a month ago when we'd been speaking to Terry that he hadn't been very well. Yeah. And I texted him yesterday and told him he'd passed away, and they were very sad about that. Very sad.
Well, when Bobby signed Paul, Colin, was there a reason that we, you know, because we started to score 7 against West Brom, had he brought him in to to play him up front with Wymart? Because obviously Trevor scored 4 in that game. But how was thinking Bobby had to bring him in? Were we lacking goals at that time? So explain the situation to everybody on that season.
Well, not really. Well, we'd had, and when I say David Johnson, don't get him mixed up with the one who kind of played a little bit in the playoff final, right? I'm talking about the David Johnson, the David Johnson who played for England, who was a Scouser, came to us from Everton and went back and played for Liverpool, won the European Cup, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, David Johnson was playing with Trevor pre-Paul Mariner, and David Johnson was... I went to see him actually play it with my father. The only ever England-Scotland game I ever see on 5-1. David Johnson was playing that game. But anyway, so David Jonty, as we used to call him, used to have a boutique up at town.
Did you say that's England-Scotland, Colin, you went to watch with the 5-1 game?
Yeah, that's the only one I've ever seen.
He scored that header?
Yeah, far pole.
What the header that was?
Me and Dad went because there was Kevin was playing. Let me think. Who else was playing? David Johnson. Was Colin Viljohn playing? We had 3, I think, in the side. Anyway, that's the reason we went. Going back to what I was saying. David Johnson had obviously he got a bit homesick, I think, and he was obviously scoring goals for fun for us. Great player, don't get me wrong. David Johnson, great player. But he obviously wanted to go back home. He was a Scouser, you know. And that's about the period, obviously, that Paul came to us. No, we weren't lacking in goals. No, we had Jonty and Trevor Wymart, two great players. But Paul came in, and it was just like, I know it's a cliche, but it was just like hand in glove. You know, it was literally, he just came in and hit the ground running. It was like, you know, like some players take 7, 8, 9, 10 games to you know, get galvanised in the side. Oh my God! I'll tell you what. Like I say, not because he scored in his debut, but I can't remember. But he scored goals. He just calm. Everybody loved him. The fans loved him. The players loved him, and he just fitted in like a glove, you know. And fantastic. Oh, and another thing I read yesterday, which I must admit I wasn't aware of. He's still got the record of the most consecutive goals in England games.
Yeah,
6 goals.
Six on the trot. I never knew that, Rich.
I never knew that either. Yeah, because he went through to that game in Spain '82. That's pretty one. I remember coming home from school to watch that, Colin. A schoolboy getting home because it was an afternoon kickoff, wasn't it? England France. Of course, Robson scores that.
I remember that
really quickly, doesn't he? But yeah, that's one of my real long-lasting memories of Paul when he scores that third goal, doesn't he, inside the area? As you said.
And also, Rich, do you remember in my shed the picture of Mariner, Millsy, and Butcher in their red?
Yeah, it's a great kit.
Remember that? Do you know what? You couldn't want that picture is beautiful, isn't it, Rich? Mariner is like this.
Yeah.
Head up, chest out, and so was Terry. So was Millsy. Millsy with the armband on.
Yeah.
You know?
I always remember, Colin. I think I had an old Shoot magazine. I don't know if Shoot Annual. Do you remember them, Matt? I think it was either Shoot or Match. And there's the picture. I see it yesterday. There's. I think it's the 4. That must be Spain '82 when we had Butcher, Mills, Mariner, and Osmond, and they're all in the Admiral training kit. I think it might have been at the training ground at town. I always remember that. That was in. I think it was the Shoot Annual it was in. But you think he was the last. So he was the last English player for town, playing for England, who scored at a World Cup then.
Yeah, that's what I think.
I believe so.
I can't think of anyone else for England anyway. That picture you're talking about, Colin, he's up on he's on one of the corridors in Wembley. It's a great picture. The red.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Well, that's even more iconic in my shed.
Yeah. I mean, we said it earlier, of course. Within 6 months, he's playing for England. And that England team, Colin, was managed by Don Revie. So we're keeping it kind of current to what's going on later this evening. Was Revie a popular England manager? Can you see why Paul got the nod to get into one of his squads?
Don Revie, yeah. I mean, obviously, great club manager. Goes without saying. I mean, he had a great lead. So I wouldn't say, from a personal point of view, I wouldn't say he was as popular as England manager, no. I think at the time, obviously apart from the great Brian Clough, God rest his soul, you know, he would have been the people's choice. I think the people's choice really was Brian Clough, but obviously he never got the nod because of obvious reasons. He was too opinionated, like a few of us. But you know, he had his opinions, and Don Revie, I mean, but to be fair, Don Revie, you know, he was a bit opinionated himself, you know, so, but, yeah, I went against Don Revie, but I want a great, I don't know. It was all right, I suppose, you know. It was an all right manager, you know, but not really my cup of tea, really.
Yeah. Well, of course, following on from that, Paul went to the Euros in Italy in 1980, I believe. I think it was Italy, 1980. And obviously the World Cup in 82 under Ron Greenwood. And that's where he made his appearances, wasn't it?
He scored the goal, Matt. Yeah. Got us lost there, didn't he?
Yeah. Against Hungary, was it? Was it Hungary?
Yeah, 1-0 win. Yeah.
He had a lot of competition for England places, you know, Colin. It's just some of the names. So it was Keegan, obviously.
Yeah.
First £1 million footballer. Then you got Tony Woodcock. Then you got David Johnson, as you mentioned earlier, number 1. And
Peter Wade.
And Gary Birtles. They was all in the mix for those starting roles, and Paul was competing with them.
Peter Wade as well.
Yeah.
You know, he was, you know, not a Paul Mariner. He was a bit of a lump, Peter Wade, but I was thinking about the great strikers of the time this morning, and I was thinking of Trevor Francis, obviously.
Yeah.
And of course, obviously, a great Keegan. I mean, Keegan was a great player, there's no doubt about it. But Keegan was a different kind of player. He played off you.
Yeah.
But, Gary Burles was a good shout. I mean, he was a player who came like, I think, through non-league and went up to Forest and just ripped it up, didn't he? But never really cut the mustard at Man United when he went there. But he was as a bit like Alan Brazil in a lot of ways. Alan Brazil, nobody a greater lover than Alan Brazil and me. But when Alan left Portman Road, that kind of went south, I think, really.
Yeah, some of his magic went there a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah. But actually, talking about Alan Brazil, I mean, what a great part. I mean, we talk about Trevor, but I mean, what a great partnership that was with Maris. I mean, obviously, they had the feed, like Graham said earlier. I mean, they had arguably the best feed, if you like, from Mirren and Tyson, apart from Ardiles and Vina, who were at Tottenham at the time. But I mean, some of the through balls and stuff Maris and Brazil got from Arnold, especially, were just top draw. I mean, I nearly made me cry when I heard Terry talking about Maris yesterday, and he said Van Nistelrooy. Who were the three? Van Nistelrooy,
Kane, Van Nistelrooy, Van Basten.
Yeah. I mean, oh my God, Terry. But that's the high esteem he was held in.
Colin, I've got a question for you. So now, playing two up front now is sort of, we don't do it, do we? 4-4-2's gone. No. So you said about the great partnership of Brazil and Mariner. Who out of them two would be your one? If you had to pick a central striker to play, like the Harry Kane role for England.
PM all day long. I'll tell you why, Rich. I'll tell you why, my best friend. Alan Brazil. Let's talk about Alan Brazil. Alan Brazil was the greatest finisher, bar none, for 5 to 6, 7 years.
You were that game when he got 5 against Southampton.
Oh, my God, man. Nap hand. I'll tell you, unbelievable. 5-2 that was. 5-2. I think Keegan got both for Southampton, if on my mind. Yeah. But anyway, going back to what I was saying, Rich, Brazil, best one-on-one finisher, bar none, in the First Division / Premiership at that time. And you'd have him, like I say, as a 2, you'd have him in any side all day long. But as a 1, and I understand exactly what you're talking about, Rich, as a 1, PM all day long. For one reason and one reason only. He was the best hold-up player.
I can't remember, Colin, where I see yesterday.
I can more or less remember.
About Paul Mariner, they compared him to, like, nowadays, or going back a little bit, they compared him to Didier Drogba.
Yeah.
I
seen it somewhere yesterday. That they compared, like, sort of, as in recent times, what sort of player he'd be like now.
Yeah. It's a good comparison.
I'd never see him play for Town, It's just, and then when you look, that he only got sold for 150k to Arsenal. Why did he go to Arsenal, Colin? What happened there?
Well, obviously the reason he was sold was obviously a lot of the other players at the time. They built the Pioneer Stand, as it was called, Co-op stands, isn't it? Pioneer Stand. Excuse me. And there was a lot of people went because of that reason. There was a bit of financial issues and whatever. And you say why Arsenal, Rich? Good question. If my memory serves me right, I mean, I think they were one of. I can't remember. Do you know what? I swear to God, I can't even remember. And that isn't like me at all, as you know. I can't even remember how many clubs were in for him. But Arsenal, obviously, for Paul, especially where he was living, which is not far away from where I live, I suppose he thought to himself, it's an ideal move, really. You're playing for another top-flight club.
2 against Town in his second game.
I think, yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
I remember him scoring on Match of the Day. I think I think it was his debut at Nottingham Forest at the City Ground. He scores. I can still picture him running to their away fans behind the goal at the City Ground. That was one of those Match of the Day featured games.
Who was Arsenal manager then, Matt? In '84,
maybe Don Howard.
Was it Don Howard?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Funnily enough, another game I remember vividly with Paul was we'd just come back from St Etienne. My dad didn't go to St Etienne. I went with a friend from Royal Mail. But we got back, it was on the Thursday or whatever. And then we had, reminded me, Matt, we had Forest in the 6th round of the FA Cup on a Saturday. God, shall I go? Yeah, off we go, up the bloody Nottingham. So I went up to Nottingham. That was that 3-3 draw. The Bridgeford end, don't you, Matt?
Yeah.
The Bridgeford end beyond the goal, Rich. That used to be all terrace and open air, a bit like Sheffield Wednesday used to be. They never had a roof or nothing. Most people carried umbrellas along. You used to get just peed on, But, so anyway, we had thousands. I think we took about 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 up there that day, up at Bridgeford end. And Mariner scored that day. I remember he scored up our end, up at Bridgeford end, because we attacked. That's right, Millsy must have had his head screwed on that day because we attacked the Trent end second half. So Millsy switched them, Psychological old Millsy, wasn't he? So anyway, we attacked. That's right, because Mariner scored then our end the first half, went 2-0 up in no time. And then they went 2-1, 2-2, 3-2 to Forest. And then Tyson scored I think Tyson scored a penalty. No, it wasn't a penalty. Anyway, he got an equaliser. I'm sure Tyson scored. And I made it 3-3. And then we came back to Portland Road and beat him on a Tuesday night with a mere and worldly from about 35 yards in front of about 36,000.
I think
Peter Shilton. Beating Peter Shilton from 35. Oh, my God.
I'm pretty certain in Bobby Robson's, one of his biographies, he goes in to see Clough talking about the replay. And Brian's sitting in his office in complete darkness with Peter Taylor. And Clough, I think, is laying down on a sofa. They're not talking. They're just lying. He's just lying in there. And he's like, he goes, oh, so we'll have the replay on Tuesday, Brian? He goes, we'll see you on Lowestoft Beach or something tomorrow. We'll see you there. Because he was going, they'd drop that league. But that was the first game I can remember actually seeing Ipswich on the TV and saying to me, Dad, I'd really like to go and watch Ipswich playing. And we went and got tickets for the Sunderland, the 4-1 against Sunderland. Later that month, I think it probably was in that March. But I was just thinking, with this show, it's such sliding door moments, isn't it? Because as Dave Eaton said in the comments earlier, clubs were in for Paul before he signed for us. One was West Bromwich Albion. I think Johnny Giles was the manager. And
West Ham.
West Ham. So, I mean, it's just weird, isn't it, how these sliding door moments and, and he came to town. Colin, when you talk about the FA Cup, do you remember did he get a hat-trick at the Millwall game? The 6-1 start game?
6-1. So when we went, we had to go off a pitch about 3 times.
Yeah. You there?
Yeah. You there? Yeah. Got the old den. I'll tell you what, we took about 14,000 there that day. There was about it was at 12, about 12,000. There was 28 or 29. I mean, that's not heard of at Millwall, as you know. Had about 29,000 in the ground that day. And I'll tell you what, Burley scored a worldie that day.
Yeah, remember that
goal. But I'll tell you what I always remember about that game. I know it's a silly thing to say, but the white and black strip. I used to always love us in that white and black strip. It looks pristine. And I'll tell you what, I saw a picture of Paul yesterday. With the white one with the pinstripe with the Pioneer. Yeah. And Paul, because Paul was a lot like, I'll tell you another thing about Maris. He was a bit like Bobby Moore. He always liked to look pristine. Bobby Moore, they reckon, used to always put his shorts on last because he didn't want them creased when he went out of Wembley, And Paul Mariner was a bit the same, you know. Whenever you saw him, you know, in photographs, he always looked pristine. Old Maris, you know. He obviously had a little bit of something about himself, you know.
A little bit of swagger. He had that rock and roll look about him, didn't he, with the hair as well, Colin?
Yeah. But I'm trying to think, I'm trying to think of all the memories, you know, and there was so many, you know, so many. Oh, I'll tell you another one. And I had to laugh yesterday because I remember seeing that picture in the East Anglian, that was yesterday, when he was sitting in the mud, because we had so much rain pre-FA Cup final. In those days, you was allowed to go and train on Wembley on the Friday before the cup final. Yeah. One in the morning, or was it one on the Thursday, one on the Friday? But anyway, Ipswich trained on the Friday. It had been pouring all day long in London. And Wembley was like, not a mud bath, but, it was getting a bit, clogged up, you know. I remember seeing Mariner sitting on his arse with Eric Gates, because we had tracksuits with our initials on in the 70s.
Cool, nice.
And he sat with Eric Gates' tracksuit top on in all the mud in Wembley. And I thought, how the hell did you get his tracksuit top on? He was little, wasn't he, Eric? He was little, he was minute, you know.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. That's brilliant. Do you know what? We could talk about that 7-0. The goal that Paul scores always really reminds me of like Johan Cruyff. He's got the long sleeves on. He's dribbling with the ball, cuts in, hits it with his right foot. It's that kind of goal, isn't it, Colin?
Yeah, and I'll tell you another thing. What was fantastic about that goal, I mean, he took it on from about the halfway line.
Yeah.
He actually took the ball. If you watch it, get back. Yeah, took it on from about halfway line. Beat about what? No exaggeration. Probably about three players, whatever, and got about what 22, 25 yards out, and bang, you know, absolutely unbelievable goal. And but again, another game we forget about was the Southampton. We played them on a Friday night. I can't remember why. It wasn't to do with television. We didn't have live games in them days. But it got rearranged from the Saturday, 3 o'clock, to the Friday night, the previous day. And we beat them 7-0 as well. I can't remember if he scored that game, to be honest. But anyway, we give them a stuffing as well.
Well, I think we're gonna wrap it up there. It's been great chatting to you. Mate. Just let everyone know, Graham decided not to come back in because he's still recuperating from his operation. It's fantastic he coming along. I mean, we could have 2 more perfect guests, could we, Rich? Colin and Graham coming in and talking about.
Didn't really need me and you today, really. I could just sit here and listen to them. I could listen to Colin and Graham like the stories all day long, you know. And you're so lucky, Colin, to witness that era of that great team. Yeah,
brilliant. I'd love to go back in the time machine today. To all of the
can I please say one?
Well, take your time, Colin. Take your time.
I say one last thing, please. England, go and win it for Paul Mariner and every other England player who represented their country with the honour that he did and never got round to see this day. Please, 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 if there is a Lord up there, do it for Paul tonight. Please. I just pray that happens for him and for every other player that has played for his country with this and has not been able to see it. And again, I've been fortunate in my life. Excuse me. I've been fortunate in my life. I was 9.5 years old, I believe I was. Well, no, I was just over 9 years old, and I've been privileged to watch England win a World Cup. It's been 55 years since I last see a final. I pray that not just for Paul, but every other player and for every person, younger person than me, who's not seen this before, including my son who's in my house right now, we win it for you lot. Because you deserve it.
Well said, Colin. You're a great guy, Colin. We love having you on the show. It's fantastic you're part of this community, and well said. That's a beautiful thing to say. And listen, Rich, I think a perfect way to end there with Colin, and just to say,
and I love you all.
Thanks, Colin. We love you too. And I think we'll give the last word to Sir Bobby when he said, when he looked back on his career before he passed away, he said, I worked with some great strikers: Lineker, Romario, Ronaldo, Van Nistelrooy, Shearer, Figo, and Paul Mariner at Ipswich Town. Enjoy the game tonight, everybody. God bless you.
Take care. Love you all.
Bye. You too.
Love you.